I got a notification from YouTube the other day that I had reached my 1 year anniversary on the platform. It snuck up on me. So it got me thinking about how far I've come and what I've learned along the way. I've actually been doing Keep the Flow as a podcast for longer than a year. The video came a few months later. But when I started, I really had no idea what I was doing. I don't think I even expected to last for a whole year, but here we are. There have been some ups and downs. Sometimes the algorithm loves me, and most of the time it acts like I don't even exist. But I'm going to focus mainly on the positives in this episode, with maybe a few minor complaints at the end. We'll see. But what I like most about making the show is the sense of connection that I feel when somebody comments, especially if they tell me that something I said helped them. I didn't expect that. Even if the audience for this is relatively small, one comment like that makes me feel like it was all worth it. There really aren't any metrics that can tell you what impact your work has actually had other than somebody telling you directly. Looking at how many views something had or even how many likes something gets doesn't tell you the emotional impact or lack thereof behind those numbers. So it's nice when I hear from someone who I've helped in some small way. I wish the audio podcast version of this had some commenting ability, but then I guess people can just send me a message through my website. I also have a newsletter called The Interval, which I don't really talk about much here, but there is some overlap between the podcast and newsletter subscribers. The newsletter focuses more on what's inspiring me and what I'm listening to, and also when I'm going to be on tour and if I'm releasing a new recording. Anyway, I get feedback from that just because it's so easy to hit reply on an email, and it's nice to hear when people are getting something out of it. But getting back to the show, after a year of doing this, I'm most surprised by the fact that I haven't run out of ideas. I mean, when I started out, I had ideas for 3 episodes, and I was advised to release all 3 at the same time, which was supposed to hook the audience, which I'm not sure if that actually worked, but I nearly had a panic attack trying to come up with episodes 4, 5, and 6. But once I got past that, it turns out there are endless ways of somehow looking at creativity differently. Once you decide to create a show like this, your whole perception changes. It's like my antenna are tuned to a different frequency now. I started getting ideas for episodes while watching movies or listening to other podcasts or just out walking my dog. I think I started filtering everything through the lens of a podcaster. Another thing that surprised me was just how flexible this is. I prepared myself a lot before I started, and which is maybe that's normal. I don't know. But I mean, I was taking notes on how other podcasts are formatted, how many sections they had, how long is each section, what's the typical length of an intro. I went a little nuts. But the thing is, I can do whatever I want. I don't have to follow the same rules somebody else follows. Actually, I did change the format at one point after a visit to the US when I realized I needed to simplify everything. And it was a really hard decision for me. But looking back on it, I wish I had known that it didn't matter. I mean, yes, there are probably people who preferred the other format, but I'm the boss here. Sorry. One other thing that I picked up along my journey was editing skills. And I'm not a professional editor. I mean, there are people out there that actually make a living doing just that, and that's not me. But trying to figure things out as I went along, I kind of pieced together a workflow that became more and more streamlined. And a lot of that is just learning keyboard shortcuts in Premiere Pro. But it also extends to the other aspects of production, like having gear that's easy to set up and put away. And some of this is just getting more experience and getting used to talking to a camera and getting used to writing for this kind of thing. When I started out, I was basically just writing essays that I would have published to Medium or something and reading them out loud. But the tone of a podcast or YouTube video is a very different thing. So finding that voice was a process. And honestly, I don't think I'm done, but I'm getting better at it. Now, most of what I learned from doing this for a year was positive. Otherwise, I wouldn't keep doing it. But not all of it was positive. I learned that it's really hard to know what the algorithm will like or not like. And on YouTube, it can actually harm you if you try to promote your videos. That might sound counterintuitive, but if you think about it, it makes sense. The algorithm is trying to find people who like your video, and if you go and promote your video to friends and family or random people on social media, it might help in the short term, but then the algorithm sees that and says, oh, Scott's dad likes this video and also table tennis. Let's see, I'll go find some people who like table tennis to show this video to. And if you're into table tennis, that's great. Good for you. But that has nothing to do with what the show is about. And so when the algorithm sees that, if people it shows the video to don't want to click on it, the algorithm says, oh crap, this must be a bad video. I'm going to stop showing it to people. So that was a lesson that took me a long time to learn. You're better off letting the algorithm do its thing organically rather than getting your aunts and uncles to sit through your stuff. The other thing that I've learned that is when you start to become aware of production quality and see other people's stuff that maybe looks better than yours, it's really easy to get sucked into the gear envy side of things. Just last night, I was telling my wife about a camera I'm thinking about buying, and not because I'm getting back into photography, but because I want to improve the look of my videos. She, of course, thinks I'm nuts, which might be true. It's an expensive hobby, and it can be easy to feel a constant need to get something new, which seems important at the time. It's also fun to get new gear and play around with it, and if you can afford it, then great. But the bottom line is gear is not going to make what I'm doing valuable to someone. The information and the ideas, the stories, that's what makes the difference. Everything else is just packaging. And packaging can be important in the way your work is perceived. But if the packaging is empty, then what's the point? So after a year of doing this, I've learned that I want to keep doing it for now. I can only see it getting better and maybe even easier for me in the future. If you're wondering about getting into it, I would say do it if you feel like you have something to say. Do it because you want to be of service somehow, not because you're looking for extra income. And actually, if you're thinking about it, you should watch the episode I did about the importance of making room for your own story in your work, which you can click on here. Thanks so much for hanging out. I'll catch you in the next episode. Until then, keep the flow.